Welcome to Conversations with Garmamie. This is episode number 1. The Seoul 2015 IBSA World Games are featuring competitions in 10 disciplines and will take place in Seoul, South Korea from the 8th to the 18th of May 2015. IBSA is the International Blind Sports Federation. IBSA is in charge of a wide range of sports for athletes who are blind or partially sighted. The 10 disciplines in the Seoul 2015 World Games are athletics, football, goalball, powerlifting, showdown, swimming, 10-pin bowling, chess, and judo. Yes, in this episode we're talking judo with Tony Walby.
My goal is to get them from standing to the ground and take them on the ground. That was very evident at last year's World Championships, where I beat Mexico on the ground and I beat Brazil on the ground.
Did you beat a Brazilian on the ground?
I beat a Brazilian on the ground. I threw him twice, and then I held him down to finish the match.
And Priscilla Gagne.
Dream big, push past the pain, and it's never over when it looks like it's over. There's always more to be done, and always look for something to learn beyond the surface. There's always something to learn from everything.
Both of these judokas are headed to Seoul to compete at the 2015 IBSA World Games. This episode also features Tony and Priscilla's coach, Andrezj.
The tactical and strategical preparation are all about how to grip, what not to grip, which grip not to allow, etc. Because at the high level, when you allow a good athlete to get their grip, they probably will throw you.
It was 8 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday. I met Tony at the Takahashi Dojo in Hintonburg, a neighborhood located west of Ottawa's downtown core. It's historically a working-class, predominantly residential neighborhood. The Takahashi Dojo has been sharing martial arts with Ottawa for over 45 years. Here's Jun Takahashi.
Okay, my name is Jun Takahashi, and my husband Mas and I started this dojo in 1969. Prior to that, he's been teaching at different dojos at different bases, But we established this one in 1969, and all our family members, became black belts as well.
Tony is 1 hour early for Sunday's intense judo conditioning class. He's a dedicated and focused high-performance athlete, a competitor who in a few days will leave his family and travel all the way to Seoul, South Korea to compete in the dynamic sport of judo. Hey Tony, how old are you?
I turned 42 this year. I started judo when I was 7. So doing the math, this is my 35th year in judo. I'm a 5th degree black belt in judo. I was on the able-bodied national team from the age of 15, senior national team from the age of 15 to the age of 35. So 20 years I spent on the senior national team. I was on the junior national team and senior national team at the same time. I retired from able-bodied competition in 2008 when I was 35. I was diagnosed legally blind in 2006 and won the able-bodied national championship as a blind man in 2008 and then retired. And in that span of 20 years, I won 12 senior national medals. I was junior national champion, senior national champion, multi-time international medalist at tournaments like US Open and British Open and German Open and those types of events. In 2010, when I was running a coaching course with the sports director of Judo Canada, Andrezj, Sadej, who is now the national coach for the visually impaired team, we were running a coaching course, and I was using some technology to help me read the instructor's manual. Andrezj asked what the magnifier was, and when I told him that it was to help me read to enlarge the text, he immediately asked me how bad my eyesight was, since I've been able to hide the fact that I'm blind for so long. And when I told him how bad my eyesight was, he informed me that I was going to compete again. So I started.
How did you feel when he informed you that you're...
Well, it wasn't that you must compete. It was, do you know that you fit into this category and you can really compete again? And we would like you to come back. And so he gave me the push forward to come back and give it a try for the London 2012 Games.
Quote, the push forward. Here's Andrez's elaboration.
Tony, because Tony is an athlete with whom I work for almost 25 years, for as long as I practically work for Judo Canada, and before he was included in the visually impaired program, he was a member of the national team for able-bodied athletes. And before we learned that he is actually visually impaired, he already decided to retire from his regular competition. Right. And then he returned to visually impaired judo, and it is inspirational. At the age of 41, the level of dedication he brings to the dojo, and also the level of experience and knowledge and his self-designed training programs. His level 4 coach. He finished coaching education, planning to go into coaching career after he retired from regular competition, and then he returned to visually impaired. He really is one of the very few people whom I've experienced in Canadian Judo Society, not just the visually impaired, but the regular Judo Society. He applies the training principles and understands how to apply the modern training principles to the judo training. So he's able to actually maximize his capacity with having very limited access to sparring partners. This is a very small dojo with very few people actually who are able to challenge Tony, which in normal circumstances is a big no-no in judo. You have to have a maximum number of sparring partners possible. That's why countries like with huge judo population have always advantage over countries with smaller judo populations. That's why we have our national training center in Montreal, where we are requesting that all of our best athletes, best prospects, and people in whom we are investing time and money be there, because that's where the 70, 80, 100 people that are strong players are on the mat, and those strong players challenge each other, and that's how they grow. So in this particular circumstance for Tony, considering his maturity and his experience, the fact that he is in small dojo in Ottawa, it's actually probably beneficial, because he probably wouldn't last healthy enough to compete at the visually impaired international stage if he was involved in a full-fledged sparring on a daily basis, which is normal for judo training. So again, Tony is an inspiration for everybody over 40. That's how we would like to see the population being healthy and fit. He's as fit as it gets, and probably the fittest athlete in his weight division at the visually impaired judo. He may lack some capacities which is normal. You lose certain capacities like speed and reaction time, but he makes up for it with his experience.
Well, there you have it, folks. Experience. So Tony jumped right back into judo competition mode.
So I came back in 2010 with my first tournament, the visually impaired athlete, being the Pan American Championships in Orlando, where I won the gold medal in the heavyweight division and won the open weight division. Then went on to take a silver medal at the German Open that year, 9th place at the World Championships that year. The following year, winning the visually impaired US Open, taking 3rd at the Pan American Games, or the Pan American Games that year, going on to compete at the London 2012 Games and taking 7th place. And that was supposed to be the end of my visually impaired career, but I decided I wanted to give the Rio Games a shot. So I dropped 2 weight divisions from heavyweight, 127 kilos, down to 90 kilos, so I lost 80 pounds. And
in how long, sir? How long did you drop?
Well, I started losing the weight in October of 2012 when I had surgery on my shoulder. So I was out of judo for 3-4 months while I was recuperating, so I started to lose the weight. I came back in my first competition in 2013 was in February, and I fought minus 100 kilos. I weighed 93 kilos, and I didn't want to lose the last 8 pounds for that tournament, so I fought that and took a bronze medal. And then at the next competition I competed in, which was the Pan Am Championships in the summer of 2013, I had made 90 kilos. So by April of 2013, I was 90 kilos. And I took a bronze medal at those Pan American Championships and a 5th place the next day at the North American Championships for the visually impaired. Then that year I did not compete again internationally until the German Open in 2014, where I took a bronze medal, and then I took a bronze medal at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, and then a 7th place finish at the World Championships in September 2014. And then 2015, this year so far, I've had an up and down year. I won one round at the Hungary World Cup, and then I lost to the world silver medalist from Russia in the last 15 seconds. We were an even match, and I was down a penalty, so I had to try something desperate in the last 15 seconds and lost the match. And then went on to take a bronze medal at the Brazil World Cup this year. And now I'm preparing, in less than a week, I leave for Korea for the IBSA World Games, so the World Championships. And my goal there is top 7 again. So right now, depending on how you look at the point standings, I'm ranked either 8th or 7th in the world. Mm-hmm. So as long as I maintain a top 10 ranking between now and the end of January, the last qualifier being in Rio next January, at the end of that qualifier, as long as in the point standings I'm in the top 10, I will qualify for the Rio Games in September.
And what does the Rio Games mean for you in your career? If you qualify and you make it.
When I qualify.
Sure.
When I qualify. What it means for me is it'll be the culmination of my whole career. It'll be the end of my career as a competitor, but it'll mean I've left nothing on the table. No regrets. I came out of London. We've talked about this before. I won my first match in London against the 2008 bronze medalist from France. I slammed him. He was a really big, heavy guy.
How much did he weigh again?
He weighed over 400 pounds.
Wow.
And I deadlifted him in the air. I was about a good 6 feet in the air and slammed him. Took so much energy to do that in the next
Where
round.
can viewers see that clip? Can people...
I'm not sure. I think if you search online for it on YouTube, it might be up on YouTube.
Okay. We'll have to share that. Anyways, carry on.
So it took so much energy to throw him that in the next round against Cuba, who was the ranked 3rd in the world at the time, we were scoreless with under a minute to go, and I did a nice strong left attack, and he did a nice strong left counter, and we both fell to the mat, and they awarded him a Yuko, and I wasn't able to catch up. Mm-hmm. And he ended up winning that match, going on to the semifinals, and then going on to win the bronze medal. I went to the repechage final where I fought the defending Paralympic champion to a very strong match, but I had no gas. And
is that the Azerbaijani?
Azerbaijani. He ended up dislocating my left shoulder.
Wow.
3 minutes into the match, and then that ended the competition for me. And he went on to take the other bronze medal. It was disappointing. I came out of London going, I can get on that podium. And which reaffirmed that this year at the World Championships, where I did place 7th, but the person I lost to in the quarterfinals from Russia went on to take silver, and it was really a close match. It was a coin toss match. And for some reason, those coin toss matches, I came out again with an injury. I dislocated my hip fighting.
You dislocated your hip?
I dislocated my hip fighting him.
Fully dislocated? Or?
Yeah, it popped out.
Jesus.
And then I still had to win the next match in a repechage. Otherwise...
You mean you still competed with...
Oh, I had no choice. If I didn't win the next match in repechage, I wouldn't have placed in the top 7. And for the funding formula in Canada, for me to get carded, to get full funding, I needed a top 7 finish. And for me to get points towards world ranking, I needed a top 7. And I needed to win that repechage match against Brazil to get top 7. So I ended up throwing the Brazilian.
With a dislocated hip?
With the dislocated hip. Well, they popped it back in for me. Okay. Medical had popped it back in for me. I threw the Brazilian. And
how painful was that? Sorry. Dislocated hip. Like, were you screaming?
When I fought the Russian, what had happened is we went into groundwork, and he had what we call reverse bow and arrow. So he had his foot on my left hip.
Okay.
My gi up around my face, and he had grabbed my ankle, and he was like bending me like a bow and arrow.
Right.
Now the referee should have stopped the match at that point because the gi across the face is against the rules. But the referee let it go on for a good 25 seconds. And by the time the referee called it, my hip was out of joint. I still got up to finish the match with the Russian, but I couldn't really put weight on my left side. And he caught me in a nice osotogari right away after that. And the coin toss part of that match was, up to that point, I was actually dominating him.
Okay.
I was in control. The match was mine. And then I got injured and the match became his. Went to medical, put my hip back in, gave me a couple Advil because they couldn't do anything else because I still had more matches. Fought the Brazilian, my third match of the day. Needed to win that match. To me, it was a money match. If I did not win that match, I would not get funding. I would not get points towards the World Championships. I would be basically behind trying to catch up. So I threw him twice, once in a drop shoulder throw, once in a reverse counter, and then held him down for the full score. Came off, had my hip worked on again, went back to the repechage final against Ukraine, and had a good match against the Ukrainian, but I was, again, in a lot of pain on the left side that I couldn't do a lot of my strong attacks. And he got me with a nice left Uchimata, which I tried to reverse in midair and just didn't have the mobility and rotation to do it. He went on to take the bronze medal. I ended up in 7th place.
Is
which
that
I
the
was
number
happy
4,
with.
the Ukrainian?
The Ukrainian, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually very happy with that. I was happy with that placing because of the injury, but the Russian went on to take silver. I fought that Russian again at the World Cup in Hungary. He scored a Yuko on me real early. I scored a Yuko on him mid-match. The referee assessed me a Shido for non-combat activity. I'm not going to say a questionable Shido because I think at the point of the match we both deserved a Shido, but I guess he was doing a little bit more footwork than I was, and I got the penalty. And in the last 15 to 30 seconds, I still down that penalty, so I needed to either have him take a penalty or score on him to win. He got in front of me. I got him up in the air for a nice counter. He got his foot down on the mat. Everybody's still in wondering how he did this. And was able to drive me into the mat. Time expired and he won the match. He went on to take bronze that day. But since he lost in the next round to arguably the best fighter in the world in our division from Great Britain, Sam Ingram, who was not at the World Championships that year, but did fight the World Cup. He won the World Cup. Since he lost in the quarterfinals, it knocked me out. So I didn't get a chance to continue on in Hungary. So I'm looking forward to Korea in a couple of weeks. Because to me, I feel that everybody in my division I can beat. Now, to beat Sam, I have to have the best day of my life, and Sam has to have a mediocre day, is the way I feel right now. But again, there's a year and a half until the Olympics. So by then, I feel it doesn't matter who I go up against, I can beat. But right now, going into the World Championships, I feel really good. I feel really strong. I feel there are a couple of fighters that are physically as strong as me and technically a little better than me. But as with every judo tournament, anything can happen. Anybody can win. We've seen guys down half points with 10 seconds to go and win. That actually happened at the World Championships in my division this year. The American D'Artagnius Crockett, he in
That
two
sounds
matches,
like an American name.
yeah, two matches in a row, he was down a half point and came back to win those matches. So anybody can do it.
Now, I'd like to go back to what Rio means to you. You're saying it's the culmination of your career?
Yeah, well, it'll be my visually impaired career on the mat. It'll be the last tournament that is very, very meaningful to me. What it means is that I'd leave nothing behind. No matter how I place at it, and my goal, of course, is get on that podium. But the fact that it's my decision to go to Rio, it's my decision to do all this training, to make all these sacrifices. It's nobody nudging me to come into the game. It's basically, I came out of London thinking that I still had a little bit more to give, and this is a little bit more. And I have nothing to prove to anybody but myself. I felt coming out of London I still had something to prove to myself, and this is what it is. That's what Rio means to me. It's my proving ground. It means that I can not only do this as a heavyweight, because the heavyweight, people kind of say the heavyweight division is about weight and strength and not so much about technique. Those people, I guess, haven't seen Teddy Riner fight, but a lot of it is about they feel it's just throwing your weight around and falling on people. Whereas the minus divisions, you're the same weight as everybody else in the division, so there's no weight advantage. So it all comes down to technique and tactics, and I feel heavyweight has that too. Otherwise, the 400-pounder would win every match, but I wanted to prove to myself that A, I could get back to the weight I was when I was able-bodied, a younger able-bodied, and B, show that my career will end with a second games. I can get to a second games, and I can give it everything I got to get on the podium at those games. So
you're 43 years old, yeah?
Well, I'll be 43 at the games. I'll be 42 this summer.
Okay. So you put in 35 years in this sport.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us, you've put in 35 years and you've competed at high levels in this sport. Tell us about the sacrifices and the commitments you've made along the way, because a lot of people are not familiar with the work ethic, the discipline, the focus, and so on and so forth.
Well, at a very, very high level, doesn't matter what age you are and how many years you've been in the sport, at a high level, a high-performance athlete trains over 20 hours a week. Like, it's a job. So when I was younger, when I was a high-level athlete younger, it was easier to do because you had your responsibilities in life were school and sport.
Right.
Everything else was taken care of. Like I lived at home, so my parents. It's taken care of. Until my early 20s. I mean, life's taken care of for you. You go to school, you go to university, and you go to the gym, you go to judo. As I got older, started career. I'm an engineer with the government, so once university was done, it was a matter of, I'm still competing, I'm still training. Now I got a 9-to-5 job, which was fine. I was able to balance that, train, the 2-3 hours a day, stay in shape, have fun, go to work. That was all fine and dandy. Then I got married. I got married in 2004. So now I started having a home life as well. And I retired in 2008. So again, the training had stopped. I started being just recreational for a couple of years, 2008, 2009. 2010, it was more recreational judo, where I would come to judo 3 times a week. I'd go to the gym 2-3 times a week, but nothing strenuous. If I didn't want to come to judo, if there was something else pressing, then we wouldn't go to judo, or I could skip the gym. There was no set schedule for me. Then in 2010 I came back, so I started training hard again. 2012 we had our first child, a little girl. So now, on top of the training 3 hours a day, sometimes 4 hours a day, where I'm on the bike at 5:30 in the morning, I'm in the gym, I go to work, I'm in the gym at lunch, go back to work, get home, spend an hour, 2 hours with my daughter, and then off to judo every night. That was 2012, 2013, and then 2014 we had our second child, a little boy. Schedule stays the same, only now I get home, I spend an hour, 2 hours with 2 children, and then off to judo. So I'm training 7 days a week. I'm in the dojo 6 days a week. I'm at the gym 5 days a week, and I'm on the bike every day of the week. So I average between 20 and 24 hours of training a week. So the sacrifices are time with the family. I don't get to spend as much time with my children and with my wife as I'd like to. And my wife's Jackie's very, very supportive of my judo career. And I guess she's looking forward to Rio as well, because it means she gets me back after Rio. But the other reason I'm looking forward to, I guess, not that I'm looking forward to the end of my career, but I'm looking past my end of my competition career, because I will get to spend that time with my children, spend more time with my wife and my children. When we take vacations where no judo allowed, like we were in Turks and Caicos for a week last year where there's no judo allowed. This year, Jacqueline and my youngest son, Britton, came to Brazil with me. My daughter, Eva, we left at home with the grandparents for a week. So there is some time with the kids, but that's the biggest sacrifice right now for me, is that I get to put my daughter to bed and my son to bed twice a week. Every other night I'm here at the dojo while Jackie puts them to bed. So I get home and they're already asleep. So that to me is the biggest sacrifice, is the time with them.
Not just resistance.
It's 9:15 a.m. 15 minutes into a grueling series of judo conditioning drills. Tony is joined by a black belt named Matt and a blue belt named Fabian, while Andrezj watches attentively.
My name is Matt LeMay. I've been training with Tony for 5 years now. It's really been something to watch over the last few years, how he managed to come out of retirement, go back and fight the Olympics, then lose 80 pounds, drop 2 weight classes, and train for the Rio Olympics. That has been really an inspiration to the rest of the team.
My name is Fabian. I've been training here for about a year now, and it's been great. From the crazy, insane drills he makes us do, then to the technique. It's been good. I've lost a lot of weight over the year. I lost 40 pounds, and this has been fun.
Go. 15 seconds on the clock.
Let's talk about Priscilla Gagne, who will also be competing in Seoul, South Korea, at the 2015 IBSA World Games in the sport of Judo. When did she come to the Takahashi Dojo?
Priscilla came about a year and a half ago. She started judo, I think, in Sarnia, and then she did it in Barrie, I think it was, Came here as recently promoted green belt. So she has come a long way since then, She's really, really devoted to judo. She comes almost every day that we have judo here. And then she also trains at the National Training Center too with Tony.
I'm Priscilla Gagne, and I've been doing judo for 6 years.
Where did you first start training in judo?
I first started at the YMCA in Sarnia with Sensei Bob Singh. The YMCA had 2 nights a week of judo, so I just did it with them, and then I did that for 6 months and moved to Wasaga.
What interested you in judo?
I used to wrestle, and when you get out of high school and college, there's no wrestling for VI in the Paralympics, so the only other option was judo, so that's what I went for.
How did you like wrestling?
I loved it. I breathed it, ate it, drank it, lived it. That was my life, was wrestling. I loved it.
How's the transition from wrestling to judo been?
Pretty simple. There's little things, like you can't lean in judo. So that was the biggest thing I had to overcome, was not leaning forward and hunching and being on my heels. And those were the toughest things, but it worked out.
So you've been competing in judo for how long?
About 6 years. I'm 29, and I've been doing it since I was 23.
Okay. When was your most recent you've been competing internationally, right?
Yes, in the last 2 years I've been doing international.
Where have you been?
The first one was Germany, then it was Colorado, then it was Brazil, Sao Paulo, and then it was Hungary, Eger, Hungary.
How did you do in those competitions?
I took bronze in Germany. I lost all my fights in Colorado. I took silver in Brazil, and I took bronze in Hungary.
And as far as preparation and training, tell us a bit about your routine and what you focus on pre-major competition.
Pre-major competition, I focus on specific throws and strategy, and conditioning is there all year round, so it's mostly mental preparation and just strategic preparation.
Give us an idea of your mental preparation routine. What does that consist of?
It entails mostly visualization and picturing my different opponents, and even when I'm fighting here at the dojo, I picture them as the other opponents, as if I was fighting them. So it prepares me mentally to see them, and won't be the first time I've seen them in a long time. And then also just visualizing what I would do in certain fights. And I picture the gym, I picture the atmosphere, the smells, just so I can get used to it before actually getting there.
Do you get nervous before a big bout?
This last one in Hungary, not too bad, just enough to be aware, but nothing like Colorado. My nerves ate me up, but the rest not as much.
How many days a week do you train?
6 to 7, depending on the week.
Do you do mainly in the dojo, also in the gym? Do you do other
I do
things?
both, yeah. So Mondays I do the gym in the morning, I do judo the afternoon and judo at night. Tuesdays I do I do judo at night. Wednesdays gym in the morning, judo at night. Thursdays same as Tuesday, Friday. Sometimes I do randori night and the gym, or I'll do afternoon and the gym. And then Saturdays just judo, and then Sundays sometimes I do the conditioning class, sometimes I don't.
Well, what does it mean to be competing in judo? What does it do for you?
It's an adrenaline rush. It's satisfaction. It's an accomplishment. It's just a lot of fun socially. You meet a lot of really great people, and it's like I said, it's an adrenaline rush. So it's fun to be able to throw people and just fight it out. I don't know if it's just something you have in you that you just like to fight, but it's just rewarding. It's very rewarding.
What weight division do you compete?
Mine is 52 kilos.
Where are you ranked right now?
I haven't seen the ranking list, but I had to go up for revision, but I believe it's around 8 or 9.
8 or 9?
Yeah.
Cool. What, as far as coaches and mentors, can you tell us who your coaches are?
My coaches and mentors are Natalie Gosselin and Andrezj Sadej. They're both Olympians, and he actually brought Natalie to her Olympics in '96. And Natalie's got quite the inspirational story as well, so it's nice to have that background, and she's definitely someone I look up to.
Well, what do you like about her coaching style?
She's tough, but she's genuine and kind. She's a beautiful person inside and out, but she can push you as hard as you'll let yourself be pushed. Mm-hmm. So, which I like. And she doesn't princess anything. Everything's tough and rough, but yet she's got the heart the size of Manhattan too, so it's good.
So this is a no princess zone.
No princess zone.
Okay, can you tell us about your other coach, Andrezj?
Yeah, he actually was fighting as well. He has quite the background in competing. Mm-hmm. The Olympics he was supposed to fight in was boycotted, right. So he wasn't able to do that one. But he ended up taking the sighted, able-bodied team to Atlanta Olympics, and he's been doing it in Canada for 26 years now, I think. Mm-hmm. And just started coaching VI last year, so it's been amazing with him. I like his style, and he's calm, but he's also tough. Like, he doesn't princess either, but he's calm, he's laid back, he's easygoing, he's focused. He knows how to get you focused. He knows how to prepare you, and I don't have to worry about extra things with him. He takes care of all the extra, like pays attention to when my fights are, so I don't have to worry about am I going to miss it. He's very aware and organized.
Coach, tell us more about Priscilla.
Priscilla is relatively new to judo, and she is a real inspiration to us, because the progress she made over the past 2.5 years since she came back. She came to Ottawa and decided to join the judo program. She actually had a judo background. She had a wrestling background. So she is from the athletic perspective, a very, very gifted athlete, and that definitely helps her to quickly learn what she needs to. She definitely does not have a great repertoire of judo throws and judo techniques, but what she has is very, very effective and efficient.
Not only is Priscilla driven and confident, I think her secret weapon is her positivity. So Priscilla, what are you aiming for at the 2015 IBSA World Games?
I'm aiming to medal. That's my goal, is to medal. It's obviously to win, but I want a medal. I would definitely want a medal. The ultimate goal is to qualify for the Rio Paralympics. So this will be a big deal.
And what about your teammate, Tony Walby?
Tony, I'm excited for him too. It's a qualifier for him as well to go to Rio. So he works hard and trains hard, and I'm hoping for the best for him because he's really wanting this really badly. So it's his last run at the games.
Cool.
So I'm rooting for him.
Cool. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go. 15 seconds on the clock.
So Tony, you've got plenty of supporters. So now let me ask you this question. Why do you compete? Why do you train over 20 hours a week?
There's a sense of pride. Pride is a really big thing. Like I said, proving yourself, but it's not proving myself to other people. I'm actually the type of person that I really don't care what other people think of me. I'm well spoken. I'm very polite. I treat everybody equally. So if somebody has a bad opinion of me, it doesn't bother me because I know how I treat people. I treat people the way I want them to treat me. So their opinion of me doesn't weigh heavy on me, but my opinion of myself, the fact that I want to prove to myself that I can do it, that I can continue doing it, that it's my choice to do. So I'm very, very competitive. I come from a very competitive family, and it's every time I walk on that mat, whether it's a training session, whether it's a competition, training camp, I'm proving to myself that, hey, I deserve to be there. I'm good enough. I'm strong. It's my mat. But there's also the sense of pride that I get to wear the Canada flag on my gi. I get to represent my country at the highest level. And growing up in a sports family, growing up watching the Olympics, watching World Junior Hockey, watching World Championships at the high level, wearing that Canada flag is just, it means a lot to me. I remember the first time I was given a national team jacket to represent Canada. It was huge for me. It's phenomenal. I was like, I still have that jacket. That, I think, to me is the sense of pride, the fact that I get to represent a club that has been so good to me over the years. I get to represent my province, but I get to represent my country. And I walked into the 2012 Games Stadium. You had 120,000 people in the stands screaming for all these countries walking in the opening ceremonies. I'm there in the Team Canada jacket, and if you ever watched a clip of the opening ceremonies in Canada coming in, I'm at the very back, and there's a good 20 feet between the head, the last person on the Team Canada, and me, because I'm just in awe.
Sure.
Like I'm blind, so I'm trying to walk in a straight line, but it's just the atmosphere. I'm in awe. There actually is at one point the usher is move along, catch up, because I'm just in such an awe and such a proud moment to walk in with my country's jacket on. And I think that's the biggest thing outside of the personal pride and the personal drive that is pushing me is the fact that I want to represent Canada at the highest level. And I come back to the club, and the kids at the club and my team members here at the club, I get to mentor a little bit and get to give them something to strive towards. I'm not going to say role model, but it gives them something to say that, hey, they can achieve it too. They don't have to be this natural born athlete and be snap of the fingers and be Adonis. You can work hard and work your way up and put your hours in and train, and things will happen for you. You will get there at the level you want to get to. And I've done that my whole judo career. I've had to scrap to get to the top. I wasn't a natural fighter. I wasn't a natural judo fighter. I've had to claw my way in. I've had to scrap fights. There were years when I was a teenager, 13, 14 years old. I'd already been in judo 7 years as a brown belt. I went a whole year where I think we went to 25, 30 competitions where I didn't win a match. But I was so determined to win that I just kept going and getting better and getting better and getting better.
Did you ever have a moment in your career where you just wanted to throw it all in and say, you know what, I'm done?
Actually, no.
Never had that?
Never had that in judo.
Never crossed your mind?
Never crossed my mind. In judo, it never crossed my mind. What always crossed my mind was, I'm not losing to that guy again. I'm not losing this match. I'm not losing this tournament. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to the games at once. It's going to happen. I'm going to win the nationals. I'm going to do this. But I had the most supportive parents in the world. Like, my mom and dad are amazing. When I was younger, my mom drove me across Canada to every competition I wanted to go to. They paid for me to go to Europe when I wanted to go to European competitions before I was funded. Like, they sacrificed. We had a cottage in the summer, but we didn't go to Disney or anything, because, I mean, they put their money into their kids' sports. My brother played hockey, my sister played ringette, and I did judo. And my parents poured everything into their children's sports. So I was really lucky to have very, very supportive parents. And I still have supportive. I mean, they're still around. They came to London to watch me compete in the London Games. They'll be in Toronto this summer to watch me compete at the Parapan Games. Actually, on June the 8th, I'm running with the Parapan torch in Whitby.
Ottawa?
In Whitby.
Oh, in Whitby. Okay.
In Whitby, right in front of the venue that I'm going to be competing in. I'm going to run with the torch. And my mom, the day she heard this, said, "I'm coming to Whitby to watch you do that."
Nice.
Yeah. So it's that. So to sum up what it means to me to be in a sport, and was there ever a moment that I wanted to walk away from it? I've never wanted to walk away from judo. I have goals in judo that were competitive, but even when I retire in another 16 months or 17 months or whatever it is after Rio, when I retire, judo's not done. I'm done competitive judo, but I'm going to train athletes. I still have goals in judo past that. I mean, I'm a 5th degree black belt right now, but one of my goals in judo has always been to wear a red and white belt, which is what we call a high dan belt, 6th degree and above. And it takes a lot to get to that point. My goal is to get to that belt. Now, yes, that's my next rank, but it's still a minimum of 6 years away from me before I can even attempt to go for the grading for that. So I still have goals in judo that are outside of the competition ring. So I still have that drive, that determination to get my accomplishment off the competitive scene.
The drive, the determination, the passion. You can hear it in his voice. And his judo journey started at the Takahashi Dojo.
Now, Tony has been doing judo for many, many years. He started in the school system, when Tina was actually teaching a course at the school that he attended. And then he came here over 25 years ago. I can't remember exactly when. He was only a young boy. And he did wrestling at school. And then he changed right over to judo. He fell in love with judo, you see, so he came to this school here.
Who's been kind of your mentors? Who are your mentors and coaches and significant contributors to your development? I know there's many.
Yeah.
Give us some names.
Oh yeah, well, outside of my parents of course have been, and my wife, they haven't been judo mentors, but they've been judo cheerleaders. I gotta give that. I mean, I've got to put my mom and dad and my wife first as my mentors, cheerleaders. My parents gave me the determination, the attitude to do this, and then my wife Jacqueline gives me the ability to do it because I don't drive, so she drives me everywhere for these events. Now, when it comes to judo, my first ever mentor in judo was Tina Takahashi.
Right.
She was my first judo instructor when I was in grade school. She was my first coach. She coached me to my first junior national title. There's always a big place in my heart for Tina and the judo she's taught me. Her brother Phil was my coach for a very long time as well, and he was a mentor of mine in judo, and he was one of Canada's greatest fighters in judo. Andrezj Sadej, he's the current national coach for the visually impaired team. Back when I was a teenager, he was the national coach for the able-bodied team, and one of my coaches here at Takahashi Martial Arts, and he still trains with me 2 to 3 times a week on the mat, pushing me and driving me. And so he's still my personal coach, and now he's also my national coach again. Mm-hmm. So he's been a very big influence on my judo career. One of the guys I competed against for many, many years, Nicholas Gill, is sort of a mentor in judo, that he was Canada's greatest fighter. So far, he's got the most medals at the Olympics and the Worlds Canada has for judo, and he's the current able-bodied head coach. So I look up to him and his accomplishments, and he's sort of a drive. Even though I was number 2 to him for many years, he's still a bit of a mentor in the sport for me. Mm-hmm. I guess that sums up all the major mentors I've had. I've had many coaches over the years that have helped me develop my standing fighting, my ground fighting. Igor Yakomov, he's a Russian sambo fighter and judo coach and judo fighter. Mm-hmm. He was at our club. He had his own club. He fought on the MMA circuit. He fought on World Sambo circuit. He's helped my judo along. Jose Nunez was a Cuban national champion and national team member who trained with me here at Takahashi and still comes out regularly. He's helped my judo career along with coaching. Louis Jani is the director of the High Performance Committee for Judo Canada, and he comes out and trains with us here, and he's a 3-time Olympian, and his experience and his tactics and strategy have helped me along the lines too. So I've pretty much anybody who's put a gi on and a belt on at this club has helped me in some way. Mm-hmm. So I've got to say thank you to everybody there. I mean, every time you have a partner on the mat, you have somebody helping you. Off the judo mat, I have lots of help this past year. We've got the visually impaired team's got a judo gi sponsor, Matsuru. They're a wonderful judo gi company, and they've given us a heavy discount on purchasing new judo gis for the new rules this year. So Matsuru has helped us a lot. Canadian Athlete Now Fund, or CAN Fund, has sponsored me this year. Mm-hmm. So they've written me a nice big check to help me get to some of these competitions, get to some of these training camps. Along with Heritage Canada and Sports Canada, I'm a carded funded athlete. So they've paid for a lot of the competitions and a lot of the travel. So I've been a very blessed judoka. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got to do things that a lot of other athletes have not got to do. And like I said, I'll get to run with the Pan Am torch this summer. I'll get to represent Canada in Canada this summer at the Parapan Games. I've got to go to the Paralympics. I've got to I sit on the Canadian Paralympic Committee Athletes Council right now. Mm-hmm. So I've got to do some things that athletes dream about, and I've got to accomplish them at a young age and at an old age. I guess old age in judo, in my 40s. So I've got to have such a long, wonderful judo career, and I will be sad to see the competitive side of it end. I'll probably argue a little bit that no, I can go on, but I've been given a mandate by the wife that I won't go on. A mandate is the way we'll call it. But
it is what it is.
Exactly. And I know I won't be able to push on. I mean, I have to schedule surgery for my right shoulder after the Rio Games. It's injured, but it's not injured. I have full range of motion, full strength in it, but it does need to be repaired. I spend every week going to physio to ensure that I have the range of motion and the strength I need to compete.
What are your thoughts on Tony and Priscilla?
They are preparing now to go to Korea and then to the Pan Am in Toronto in August. So it's quite an exciting time for them. You know, they're really training hard. Andrezj, he is the coach, national coach for the visually impaired. And so he will be going to Korea with them leaving on Friday. And then they stay for some training camp there in Korea. So it's quite an accomplishment, you know. Priscilla did very well in Hungary. She got
a bronze medal.
Tony recently went to Sao Paulo and got a bronze medal there. So they've both been doing very well internationally, and hopefully they'll do well at the Pan Ams too. You know.
Now going into this competition here, the World Games, the 5th IBSA World Games, how are you feeling, and what, as far as training, what are you focusing on going into this competition? Can you tell us a little bit about your preparation and your strategy without giving away any?
Well, for the last couple of months, we've been focusing on tactic, on strategy. Physically, I feel great. I'm healthy. I've got lots of energy. My weight is good. My focus is good. The training regime we've been doing has been very focused on anaerobic and aerobic endurance and ferocity. Actually, I mean, attack, control, dominate. My biggest strategy is I'm a strong ground fighter, and my goal is to get them from standing to the ground and take them on the ground. That was very evident at last year's World Championships, where I beat Mexico on the ground and I beat Brazil on the ground.
You beat a Brazilian on the ground?
I beat a Brazilian on the ground. I threw him twice, and then I held him down to finish the match. I'm a very strong ground fighter. I can fight from being on top of the guy on the ground, also being underneath him on the ground. I turn every disadvantage on the ground into an advantage for me. So we've been working a lot of strategy and tactics to how do we get the guy from standing to the ground. We've been working a lot on the anaerobic and aerobic endurance, that at that 4th minute of the match, when he's running out of gas, I still got a full tank. We've been working those kind of strategies. So we've been doing a lot of high intensity training for short periods of time. We'll do a drill that lasts 5 minutes all out, and then we'll take 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes of very light activity, throwing on a crash mat, moving around with light grips, stuff that's just technical, more mental, and then we'll go back to doing a 5-minute very hard physical drill, and then again a nice lull in that, or we'll do a 1-minute 100% drill, and then we'll take 3 minutes and do something technical and go back to that 1-minute drill. That's the type of training we've been doing to keep the mind focused, but keep the body prepared that when that opponent is running out of gas, you're not, and you can just go to the next gear. So we've been doing a lot of that. And for these games, I feel really good. I feel like I'm ready. I know I can get to that podium. I know most of the fighters in my division, and I've got a tremendous coach. Andrezj has watched these fighters. He's only been to one competition as the head coach of the VI team, but at that one competition, he took notes on pretty much every fight in the 4 weight classes that our fighters fight in. So he watched all the matches, all the fighters, took notes, and knows what these fighters can do And then at the training camp after the World Cup, he watched everybody and again, took notes on everybody.
Can you tell us a bit more about him, just to tell our listeners?
Well,
a bit
Andrezj
more
Sadej was a fighter for Poland in the 80s. He was many-time European champion, European Games medalist. He was ranked as high as number 1 in the world at one time, or at least they called him the best fighter in his weight division in the world.
What division was that?
He fought minus 78 kilos.
Okay.
Black division doesn't exist anymore. It's now minus 81 kilos, but back in the 80s it was minus 78 kilos, and he probably would have medaled or won the 84 Olympic Games if Poland didn't boycott. But Poland boycotted, so he didn't get a chance to go to those games. He came to Canada in the early 90s, I think it was 91 or 1990, as we hired him as our national coach for the able-bodied team. He stayed as the able-bodied coach through to 96, 97, and then moved on to being sports director for Judo Canada. And he's been in that role since then. He's still the sports director of Judo Canada. And in November of 2014, the director of the High Performance Committee named him the head coach for the visually impaired national team. Mm-hmm. So on top of being sports director of Judo Canada, he's now the head coach of the VI team. So he only has 4 VI athletes, but he still has to prepare us and travel with us and do all the stuff that any normal coach would do with a bigger team.
How would you describe your relationship with him as the coach in terms of?
He's a tremendous person. Like on and off the mat, he is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. On the mat, he's got a tremendous philosophy for judo. He can change any fighter's judo with just 2 or 3 words. He analyzes how you do a technique, and he helps you make it better for you. He doesn't just say, well, this is the way I would do it, and ends it that way. Because of the way he's built. He's a taller fighter. He's a skinnier fighter. He does his judo a very specific way. He watches the way you do your judo and helps you correct your techniques and refine your techniques to make them better for the way you're built. So he's tremendous on the mat.
So what's the general routine for a coach pre-major competition?
It's the regular coaching routine to make sure that the athletes are at the peak of their capacities and that they're mentally prepared and relaxed and confident going into competition against the toughest opponents in the world. The reality of the visually impaired judo has changed somewhat dramatically over the past decade or so, or a little bit more. And it is changing even more dramatically now when the entire movement has been taken under jurisdiction of the International Judo Federation, which happened last year. We've experienced the first World Cup under the IGF jurisdiction last February, and it brought completely different dimension to the sport of visually impaired judo. And we can expect that this is only going to continue, the strength of strengthening. In Seoul, we are going to compete against representatives from approximately 50 countries, which is almost triple the number from 15 years ago when we hosted IBSA Games in Quebec City.
He never talks down to an athlete. He never says negative words. He always turns a negative into a positive, and he always pushes you to reach your maximum. He has a way about him that when you're on the mat with him that you just want to go harder. He doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. You just want to train harder.
So, Coach, how's the training session been today?
Oh, it's a very good training session. Tony Walby, who is the senior athlete on the team, is also a coach. He prepares his own training plans that are actually working very well, not just for him but for Priscilla as well. She has slightly modified training regime, but it's always a very good training session when the small group of athletes shows up and they are dedicated to do the best they can.
What are the differences in coaching and training visually impaired judokas to able-bodied judokas?
It is really at the high level. It is a very different sport for able-bodied and visually impaired athletes. In the able-bodied, the tactical and strategical preparation are all about how to grip, what not to grip, which grip not to allow, etc. Because at the high level, when you allow a good athlete to get their grip, they probably will throw you. So the entire fight is about different grip fighting and how to get it, and how not to allow it, etc. Visually impaired judo is starting with traditional kumikata, which is the traditional judo grip on, and athletes are actually being controlled by referees to make sure that they are relaxed at the moment of the initial contact, and only from that moment the match starts. So that's one perspective. The tactical strategical approach are completely different. And there is additional dimension to visually impaired judo that doesn't exist in the able-bodied judo. Judo is a highly anaerobic lactic sport, and we need to train that way. If we train aerobically and we have fantastic aerobic endurance, etc., and muscular endurance, when we are faced with very high intensity exercises that are lasting for 10-15 seconds, and then you have 10 seconds rest, and it continues like that for 5 minutes of effective time, the accumulation of effort or in your body, in muscles, is dramatic. So you train for that with able-bodied judoka. With visually impaired judoka, the ratio of work to rest during the match actually is much more in the aerobic zone. You are working in an aerobic power zone, so it's slightly different training that we are applying, in particular in drills like you've seen right now here, being done by Tony and Priscilla, because what the visually impaired matches are usually twice as long as able-bodied matches, and the real fight time is the same. So it's 5 minutes for males, 4 minutes for females, regardless of visually impaired or able-bodied. Yet the breaks between the points of engagement in the visually impaired world is much longer, and it's much more frequent because the athletes are walking away from the center. They don't see. The referees have to stop it to keep them safe. They come back to the center. They have to engage in a grip, and engagement in the kumikata sometimes takes few seconds to several seconds before the referees agree that this is a fair grip and fair start to the competition. So it changes not only the tactical and strategical, but also the physiological demands of the sport. So that is what we need to adjust in training too.
What's it like to coach and work with Tony, Priscilla, and other members of the team?
It's a privilege, real privilege to work with visually impaired athletes. Their dedication is next to none, and they are actually inspiration to other athletes, able-bodied athletes who do not appreciate enough that they actually have everything that some other people don't, and they have to cope with a variety of different things. For me, it was personally, it was a very rewarding experience. I've coached the able-bodied team 20 years ago, and the national team, and for several years, and then spent most of my time working in the administration. And this really is something that was added to my duties, and I initially was not that keen to do it because it just is added duty, but it is a very rewarding experience. So I really appreciate the opportunity to work with those athletes. And I hope they are going to do very well in Seoul. Right now we have 3 athletes out of the 4 competing in Seoul. Priscilla and Tony are from Ottawa. There is 1 athlete from Hamilton, 1 from Montreal, who are also going to the World Championships. 3 of them are in the position to qualify for the Paralympic Games next year in Rio, and this is our goal, to make sure that they qualify. This is a very important qualifying event, the World Championships, and after that we will probably know who still has a shot at Rio or doesn't.
So Tony, how has Andrezj driven and motivated you and other judokas to train harder?
He gives you drills that on the surface seem very simple to do, but work you to 100% capacity. And he's a driving force in the judo community, and he's very, very inspiring without having to be loud. He pushes you without having to be a drill sergeant. He's just, I mean, he is an idol of mine. When it comes to the coaching side of it, when I retired in 2008 from able-bodied and wanted to start coaching at a high level, I'm an NCCP level 4 coach, level 4 or 5 coach, which is the highest level of coaching you can get in the Canadian coaching community. And my mentor coach was Andrezj Sadej. So I've looked up to him for many years on how his coaching style was, and I had the privilege to be one of his, to have him as my coaching mentor, going through my level 4 or 5 program. And I mean, I can't praise him enough. That's the thing. I just can't praise him enough. And I've been very fortunate, and we, as a team, we've been very fortunate, very lucky to have him here in Ottawa, named the VI coach with a year and a half to go until the Paralympics. Have him on the mat with us 2-3 times a week. Like it's phenomenal. Like Priscilla Gagne, another VI member of our national team, she's here in Ottawa with me, and we're so lucky to have Andrezj on the mat with the two of us 2-3 times a week. It's great.
Going into Seoul, how do you think, in terms of competition, competitor, who's your main competitor? You mentioned in that division, you know them all. You've competed with all of them. There's one in particular.
Well, Sam Ingram is the best. I'm not gonna.
That's the British dude.
That's a British fighter. Sam Ingram is the best. There's number 2, number 3, number 4. I mean, the Uzbekistan is really, really strong. The Ukrainian's strong. The Russian's strong.
The Canadian's strong.
The Canadian's strong. Yes, the Canadian is strong. But you're asking me who outside of Canada. Actually, I would say that there are 6 or 7 really strong competitors in that division, that any of those 6 or 7 can be on the podium any day. Like I said, the American D'Artagnius Crockett won last year. He came back from being down on Wazari in 2 different matches, but he's really strong. I've had the privilege of fighting him in competition twice. In Brazil at the World Cup last year in 2014, I threw him for a Wazari, and then he came back and threw me in the last minute for a full point, and we both ended up with bronze medals. But he's a formidable opponent. The Russians, the Uzbekistan, Great Britain, Argentina is very, very strong. Argentina came second at the World Cup this year. Argentina got a bronze medal at the Paralympics in 2012. The Cuban is the defending Paralympic champion. He came 7th at the World Championships, tied with me last year. But again, you can never count out any fighter in that division. I mean, if you look at the World Cup this year, Spain ended up in 5th place, beating D'Artagnius Crockett in the first round by full point. Spain was eliminated at the World Championships in 2 quick matches last year without any points. So you can never count out a fighter. Every single one of these fighters that has a chance to win.
Well, we want to wish you all the best in the competition, and we hope to have you back. We want to hear how you did, and so I'm obviously going to interview you again. Where can people find you online if they want to support you and whatnot? Plug your stuff in.
My Facebook page is Tony Walby. My Twitter is @Judo Walby, and that's basically me online. There is a Wikipedia page, but I don't know who put it up, and its information is pretty accurate, so I guess I didn't put it up, but it is pretty accurate up to 2012.
You got some fans.
I do have some fans, and I'm very lucky to have some fans, and I have some great supporters.
Do you do any crowdsourcing or Indiegogo campaign?
Actually, no. I mean, there is crowdfunding. Crowdfund Your Judo is a wonderful site. the way I see it is we have some Canadian athletes in judo that have crowdfunding sites up there on Crowdfund Your Judo.
Yep.
And I don't want to take donors away from them.
Sure.
Like I said, I have a very nice job with the Canadian government. I'm a carded athlete, so I get some funding from Heritage Canada. Canadian Athlete Now Fund, or CAN Fund, decided to give me some funding this year, which was tremendous for me. I had a fundraising event for myself this year, a nice poker tournament, which raised some money for me. So I don't want to take, and I've had the person that runs Crowdfund Your Judo, David Anker, Canadian judoka. I've had him approach me and go, why don't you set up a crowdfunding on Make a Champ, which is the Make a Champ is the mother site for Crowdfund Your Judo.
Sure.
And he's asked me, why don't I set up a funding campaign there? And I said to him the same thing, is that we have so many judoka, great judoka in Canada and around the world that are setting up these pages that need funding, that I would rather the donors go to them instead of adding one more site, when I'm not going to say I don't need the money, but I don't need the money as much as these other athletes do. And,
right.
like I said, the Canadian Athlete Now Fund is a tremendous organization. They're not government funded in any way. They're all private funding. And if any of your listeners have a few extra bucks to throw at an organization, Canadian Athlete Now, or CAN Fund, is a tremendous organization to support. I would, they try to fund all the Olympic athletes, able-bodied and para, summer and winter, that they can. And this year, they're going to be funding over 400 athletes. So that's a huge number of athletes that they're giving thousands of dollars to. And all of it is donations. None of it comes from government grants. So that's a wonderful organization. But yeah, after Seoul, I'm happy to come back and talk to you again, because we have a huge competition this summer in Toronto, the Pan American Games, and we are going to hopefully win some medals. Well, no, we're going to win some medals on home soil this summer, and I'd love to give you an interview before that, and even a post one after that if you want, because that's going to be
looking forward to it.
That's going to be a tremendous event in Canada. And then the last Paralympic qualifier for World Rankings is next January in Rio de Janeiro. So after January 2016, the whole Paralympic slate will be picked. We will know everybody who's qualified for the Paralympic Games, and we will start the 8-month rundown to the Paralympic Games after that competition. So training will be ramped up again.
Right on, right on. All the best to you, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Yes, all the best to Tony Walby and Priscilla Gagne at the 2015 IBSA World Games. Thanks to all our guests, and thank you for listening to Conversations with Garmamie. For more information, visit garmamie.com. That's GARMAMIE.com. GARMAMIE.com.